They never raise their voice, they never compete for attention, and they never performed for approval. Yet somehow, their presence alone disrupts insecure men more than any confrontation ever could. A Sigma male walks into a room without trying to dominate it, but insecure men feel dominated anyway. They sense something they can't name, a calm they don't possess, a confidence they can't fake, a self-assurance that exposes their own instability. The Sigma doesn't attack them, doesn't challenge them, doesn't even acknowledge their power games. And that is exactly why those men crumble inside. Because nothing terrifies an insecure man more than someone who cannot be manipulated, impressed, or intimidated. Insecurity feeds on reactions. It grows when others play along with ego battles, validation traps, and dominance displays. But a Sigma male gives nothing. No reaction, no competition, no emotional supply. He stands there quietly, revealing insecurity without lifting a finger. His silence becomes a mirror, and insecure men hate what they see reflected back at them. They realize their bragging sounds childish, their posturing looks fragile, and their attempts at superiority fall flat in front of someone who simply doesn't care. The Sigma doesn't try to win, and that's why they lose. He doesn't try to take power, and that's why he holds it. Before we go deeper into the psychology behind this dynamic, answer me this in the comments. Do you stay calm because you're strong, or because their behavior is simply too small for your energy? Write "quiet power" if you're ready for the rest of the breakdown. Subscribe to Silent Wise for more insights into the rare mind that intimidates without effort, influences without speaking, and rises without playing anyone's game. He doesn't react to ego displays, which makes insecure men feel invisible and powerless. When a Sigma male enters a room, he brings with him a quiet equilibrium that doesn't bend to theatrics, volume, or posturing. Insecure men, who depend on attention like oxygen, instinctively perform louder, bigger, and more aggressively when he's present, expecting the usual reactions of intimidation, admiration, or rivalry. But the Sigma gives them nothing. No raised eyebrow, no tension in his posture, no shift in emotional temperature. Their ego flare-ups hit a wall of silence, a silence that reflects their emptiness back to them. In that moment, the insecure man realizes that his entire identity is built on being noticed, and the Sigma's lack of response is a deeper insult than confrontation ever could be. In a crowded bar, an office meeting, or a social gathering, you'll see this dynamic unfold like a subtle psychological drama. The insecure man brags about accomplishments, talks over others, exaggerates his importance, waiting for the Sigma to react. But the Sigma's attention remains steady, neutral, and uninterested. He's not impressed, threatened, or emotionally moved. And this is where the power shift happens. The insecure man suddenly becomes aware of his own performance. He feels exposed, as if the Sigma has quietly stripped away the illusion that others accept at face value. Without validation, his ego has nothing to stand on. The Sigma's lack of reaction forces insecure men into an uncomfortable confrontation with themselves. They start questioning why their usual displays aren't landing, why their dominance feels hollow, and why this quiet man can walk through the world without needing to prove anything. Insecurity thrives on external affirmation, and the Sigma's silence starves it. What remains is a man who realizes he cannot influence the Sigma, cannot impress him, and cannot intimidate him. And for insecure men, that is the most unsettling truth of all. His calm presence exposes how unstable others truly are beneath their confidence. There is a particular tension that fills the room when a Sigma male enters, not because he brings chaos, but because he brings the opposite. His stillness becomes a mirror, and most people aren't ready to face what it reflects. Individuals who build their confidence on noise, dominance, or constant activity suddenly feel their internal instability rise to the surface. The Sigma's quiet presence strips away the distractions they rely on. Without the validation of reactions, applause, or competition, their confidence starts to tremble. His calmness reveals the truth they try to hide. They are only strong when everyone else plays along. In workplace discussions, social gatherings, or group environments, you'll notice this shift almost instantly. Someone who is usually loud and commanding begins to talk faster, their voice sharpening as they feel the Sigma's steady gaze.
Their forced confidence begins to crack.
They realize they are trying too hard, performing too much, and the Sigma hasn't moved an inch. His stability highlights their instability. His measured breathing exposes their internal anxiety. His grounded presence makes their restless energy stand out like a flashing warning sign. The Sigma isn't doing anything on purpose. That's what makes it even more powerful. He doesn't need to assert dominance, challenge anyone, or prove intellectual superiority. Just by being centered, he reveals who isn't. People who claim self-assurance suddenly fidget, over-explain, or become defensive because the Sigma's baseline calm becomes the true standard in the room. And they know they don't need it. In the end, it's not the Sigma's strength that unsettles them. It's their own weakness, illuminated by his steadiness. His calm doesn't intimidate, it exposes. And once someone's confidence is shown to be fragile, they can't help but feel threatened by the one who stands unshaken. He's immune to validation games, removing the control insecure men rely on. Insecure men depend on a very specific ecosystem to feel powerful, one where people react to them, praise them, compete with them, or get intimidated by their presence. Their confidence isn't internal, it's borrowed from the responses of others. But when they encounter a Sigma male, the entire system collapses instantly. The Sigma doesn't flinch at their bragging, doesn't respond to subtle dominance plays, and doesn't participate in their unspoken competitions. He offers no emotional fuel, no approval, no envy, no resistance. And without those reactions, insecure men lose their leverage entirely. It becomes obvious in the way they start to escalate. They speak louder, exaggerate more, move closer, or try to provoke a response, anything to get the Sigma to engage. But he remains composed, observing without reward. His self-worth is internal, untouched by their attempts to extract validation or test superiority. The lack of reaction is not indifference, it's sovereignty. It communicates that their tactics are irrelevant to him, that he operates outside their emotional economy. Insecure men panic when they can't predict how someone will respond, and with the Sigma, there is no pattern to manipulate. He doesn't need their approval, so their approval loses value. He doesn't need their recognition, so their status becomes meaningless. He doesn't rise when challenged, so the challenge itself looks childish. Without the hooks of validation, they cannot steer him, confuse him, or place him under their frame. The Sigma's immunity exposes the truth. Their power only works on people who need something from them, and the Sigma needs nothing. His sense of identity is self-generated, so their validation games fall flat before they even begin. What unsettles them most is not his refusal to play, it's realizing he never needed the game in the first place. He sees through bravado instantly, making their false confidence collapse. Most insecure men survive behind a mask, a carefully crafted performance of toughness, authority, or charm, designed to hide the fragility underneath. It works on most people because most people take the performance at face value. But a Sigma male reads beneath the surface effortlessly. He notices the tension in their shoulders when they brag, the micro-hesitation before they speak, the forced laughter, the exaggerated stories, the way their eyes search the room for approval. One glance tells him everything he needs to know. And the moment he sees the cracks, their entire performance begins to crumble. Bravado only functions when others believe it. But the Sigma's expression, calm, neutral, unreadable, sends a silent message. I'm not impressed, and I see exactly what you're hiding. Insecure men feel that message before it's ever spoken. Their voice tightens, their posture shifts, their jokes fall flat. They sense they're being seen, not admired, evaluated, not entertained. And nothing terrifies a fragile ego more than being observed by someone who cannot be manipulated. What makes the sigma so destabilizing is not confrontation, it's clarity. He doesn't call them out. He doesn't challenge them. He simply refuses to feed the illusion. Without the reward of admiration or fear, their bravado collapses under its own weight. Their stories become shorter. Their confidence leaks. Their attempts at dominance feel increasingly desperate because the sigma remains unmoved. A sigma male's presence becomes a mirror, one that reflects everything they try to hide from the world and from themselves. And the truth is simple. False confidence cannot survive under the gaze of someone who sees reality without distortion. His independence threatens men who depend on social status to feel valuable. For men whose entire identity is built on hierarchy, comparison, and external validation, a sigma male is a direct psychological threat, not because he tries to take anything from them, but because he proves they never needed it in the first place. His independence dismantles the social structures insecure men cling to. While they measure their worth through titles, approval, dominance, and reputation, the sigma exists completely outside that system. He doesn't chase status. He doesn't need to be seen. He doesn't rely on a group to define him. And in doing so, he exposes how fragile their self-worth truly is. His very existence calls into question the entire foundation of their value. Insecure men operate like politicians in every social setting, performing, maintaining alliances, guarding their image. They need an audience to feel powerful. But the sigma stands alone effortlessly, without fear of being forgotten or irrelevant. That kind of self-sufficiency is destabilizing. It's a reminder that true confidence comes from who you are, not how many people applaud you. When they see the sigma walk through a room without trying to impress anyone, yet still command attention, it shatters their belief that status is earned through noise and competition. The sigma earns influence through presence, not performance. What unnerves them most is that the sigma cannot be controlled through the usual mechanisms: approval, rejection, attention, or exclusion. He doesn't need a circle to validate his identity, which means he can walk away at any moment without losing anything. Insecure men cannot comprehend that kind of freedom, because their value depends entirely on staying visible, connected, and praised. The sigma's independence reveals a harsh truth they avoid facing. If all the social structures disappeared, they would feel empty, but the sigma would remain whole. His silence creates psychological pressure insecure men cannot handle. When an insecure man enters a space, he depends on noise, reactions, validation, disruption, approval, anything that confirms he matters. But when a sigma male meets him with silence, something inside that man begins to unravel. Silence becomes a mirror, reflecting every insecurity he tries to hide. The sigma doesn't argue, doesn't posture, doesn't defend, and doesn't compete. He just watches, calm and unreadable. And the absence of reaction becomes a form of pressure more intense than confrontation. Insecure men don't know how to exist without feedback. They need others to respond in order to feel in control. But the sigma denies them that, effortlessly. His quiet is not passive. It's calculated, grounded, unshakable. It shifts the dynamic instantly. Instead of giving them the fuel they crave, the sigma forces them to sit alone with their own ego. And that is the one thing insecure men fear most. They start overthinking. Why isn't he impressed? Why isn't he intimidated? Why isn't he reacting? Does he see something about me that others don't? That inner spiral grows louder with every second of the sigma's silence. The more they try to provoke a response, the more obvious their instability becomes. Meanwhile, the sigma remains calm, composed, untouchable, and that contrast exposes the truth. One has control, and the other is desperately pretending. This silent pressure isn't aggressive, it's psychological. It dismantles facades without a single word. Insecure men rely on noise to mask their weaknesses, but noise dies in the presence of someone who isn't moved by it. The Sigma's silence reveals just how fragile the other man's confidence truly is. It shows who stands firm and who only stands when someone is watching. His self-assurance forces others to confront their own weaknesses without him saying a word. There is a unique discomfort that fills the room when a Sigma male stands in quiet confidence. He doesn't brag, he doesn't perform, and he doesn't compete. He simply exists in a state of internal certainty that most people have never built within themselves. And it is precisely this unshakable assurance that makes others suddenly aware of their own insecurities. His presence becomes a silent spotlight, not because he is trying to dominate, but because he cannot be moved by the same doubts that control others. Insecure men feel it first, the subtle tightening in their chest, the instinctive urge to prove something, the discomfort of being seen without filters or performance. The Sigma doesn't expose anyone directly. He exposes them by contrast. When someone who is grounded stands next to someone who is not, the imbalance becomes impossible to ignore. His calm becomes a mirror. His silence becomes a test. His composure becomes a truth serum for everyone around him. People start to notice their own defensiveness, their own ego, their own need to be noticed, validated, or understood. And the Sigma? He remains still, watching, listening, unaffected. This quiet certainty forces others into self-reflection they never asked for. They begin questioning themselves. Why doesn't he need attention? Why doesn't he react? What does he know that I don't? Suddenly, their confidence feels thinner. Their bravado feels louder. Their strength feels borrowed. The Sigma does not have to correct them, challenge them, or expose them. His self-assurance does it automatically. It reveals who is secure within themselves and who is held together by external approval. In the presence of a Sigma, people are stripped of the illusions they hide behind, left face to face with the parts of themselves they avoid. He never raises his voice. He never asserts dominance. He makes others confront the truth simply by standing in his own. When a Sigma male enters the picture, he doesn't dominate through force, noise, or ego. He dominates through contrast. His calm exposes chaos. His silence reveals insecurity. His self-assurance uncovers weakness without him ever having to lift a finger. That's why insecure men crumble around him, not because he challenges them, but because he shows them who they are when the performance ends. And in a world full of loud personalities and fragile egos, the man who doesn't need to prove anything becomes the one everyone quietly fears. If you've ever watched someone get uncomfortable around your silence or confidence, tell me in the comments. Do you think they feared you or feared what they saw in themselves? Write silent strength so I know you understand this dynamic on a deeper level. Subscribe to Silent Wise for more psychological breakdowns of the Sigma mind, the only man who gains power without ever asking for it.